And I know some of you probably get tired. Kevin, man, I hear you say that. Stop. Folks, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. This is why when you're reading the Bible, you have to know the entire thing. Because if you don't know it, if you don't know what I showed you in Joshua, if you don't know what I showed you in Jeremiah, if you don't know what I showed you in 2 Chronicles chapter 36, Joshua 24, Jeremiah 23, if you don't know what I just showed you over in Deuteronomy chapter 15, in Leviticus 25, you would have no clue how to come to that conclusion. Because it takes all those scriptures to explain what God is talking about right here. You see why now I say and say it often, you have to study every verse. Study every verse. Forget reading it, man. Reading is good. Studying it is better. Why? Because studying the book takes you everywhere else in the book to where you have a complete understanding of this first segment of verse 24. Now, everything that you read below it, you can now put it in its proper context and it make absolutely pure sense to you. But if you guess and guess wrong about the 70 weeks, you're in big trouble because you're never going to be able to figure it out on your own. And you're going to make stuff up. You have no choice. Don't do that, friends. Don't study the book that way. You're going to get yourself in trouble. That is confused. And you're going to give out something that's not true. You're going to be believing something that's not true. Even though it may be an innocent mistake, and we all do it. And this is where we start. You can only live what you believe. And this is why you see a lot of Christians living in sin. Folks, this is it. That's just the truth. The truth is, most Christians who live in sin, constant disobedience, is because they don't understand this book. And when they read the word, they speed read it and they have zero understanding because they're only reading it to say, I read the book. And God says, if you do it that way, you have your reward already. But if you're reading it to know God, to know what God is doing, to understand God, you're going to get that reward. What's the reward? He will give you understanding of his word. So there you have it, friends. So that's what Daniel was talking about. This is the sole purpose of the 70 weeks, is to bring Israel back and hear the things that he's talking about. Now, when we go back to Matthew 24, you're going to really be able to follow what's going on here. So he says, hey, he starts giving you now the time of all this stuff, what's going to happen, when it happened, and I walk you through all of this, the 62 weeks and the cutoff and all that stuff, and it's better a visual for it is this chart right here that I brought you to, which is a perfect chart for looking over the 70-week in judgment upon Israel's sins, right? So you see all of this stuff. Daniel and the rest of them had no clue about this right here. So starting right here, after the cross, they had no clue about the church age. All right. Now, here's something that is very interesting and what everybody needs to get, right? Right here is this transition. Let's come this way. From law to grace. There's a transition period. What is that? That's the book of Acts, essentially. And you can see the division in the book of Acts. It starts with apostles, Peter, then it comes to Paul. And God did that on purpose. 3 sets of witnesses. The apostles, Peter to the Gentiles, Paul to the Gentiles. So Peter is the sort of the bridge. So you have the apostles. Peter touches the Jews. He was the apostle to the Jews and the leader of the apostles. Then he went first to the Gentiles, and then God handed the Gentiles over to Paul. Peter went back to being the apostle to the Jews. And that's why Peter said in his writings that Paul says things that are difficult to understand. Why? Because God was revealing the mystery. The mystery. What is the mystery? Us. We. The Gentiles being part of the covenant of promise with Israel. The two, Israel and the church, becoming one in Christ. God revealed that mystery, the church, to Paul. Okay, now, so here you have the 69 weeks right here. 69 weeks is what Daniel was talking about with the angel Gabriel. Here's the final week right here. Week of years. It's the sabbatical years. Week of years, like we read over in the book of Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Okay, so there you have it, friends. And now we understand exactly what God was doing with Israel. Now we can go back to Matthew 24 with all of that background, with that knowledge. All right? Now, when we go, oh, by the way, here's your 62 weeks. The Messiah is going to be cut off. So you got 7 weeks, right, until Nehemiah comes. So the 7 weeks happen to do with Nehemiah. So this first segment right here, all you have to go do is read 2 books, really. Well, it's 3. It's what's her name? Esther, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Right? Go read those 3 books, and there you have the 7 weeks. It's really, Nehemiah is the key book and all that, because that's where the command was given. Then the 62 weeks is the time period, and this is leading up to the cross. So when you add those 2 up, you come up with what? 69 weeks of years. And that's what you see in the thing. So after the 7 weeks are completed, then you have another 62 weeks to cross. But he didn't die for himself. Then the city's going to be destroyed right here. Right? The city, the prince to come from the Roman Empire. Now the Roman Empire goes across many nations and many tongues and many people. And we found out before that he calls them the Assyrian, shall destroy the city, Jerusalem. Right? And the sanctuary, the temple. So who did that? Titus in 8. The general Titus, who became emperor in AD 70, is when he destroyed Jerusalem. And the end shall come like a flood. A flood, yeah, a bunch of armed people killing the Jews. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined, Then he shall be confirmed with many for 1 week. So here's your final week. 1 week. So how long is a week? 7 years. So how long is the final week? How long is the tribulation? 7 years. Who said that? Kevin? No. I have no idea that there's ever going to be a tribulation. I know there will be one. Why? Because God said so. I didn't say it. God said that. So I believe what's written. And then in the middle of that week, so 7 years, in the middle of that week, what is that? 3.5 is the middle. 3.5 years, something is going to happen. He's going to bring an end of sacrifices and offering. Wait a minute. In order for the Jews to have sacrifices and offerings going again, what has to happen? There must be another temple. That's the only place that they can do sacrifices and offering. So a temple is going to be rebuilt in that final 7 years. Will it be before, during? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. What matters? That there will be one. Doesn't matter when it's built. And on the wing of abominations shall be the one who makes desolate. What in the world are they talking about? This is the one who, the beast, the Antichrist, sits on the Ark of the Covenant. Showing himself that he's God. The false prophet erects a statue, an idol of the beast. It causes everybody to worship it. So that's what he's talking about right there. Even until the consummation or the conclusion, which is determined. Listen, it is determined. You can't change it. Is poured out on the desolate. It is poured out. Who's the desolate? Right here. And everybody that follows them. They are the leaders. So when he says it's going to be poured out on them, that means it's going to be poured out on every single person that follows the beast and the false prophet. And there's going to be billions that follow them. Just like the angels that followed Satan are Satan's angels. Did he create them? No, but they followed his lead, making them his. Just like your company can say, you are my employee. Do you belong to the company? No. But when work is concerned, you follow your company. As far as the government is concerned, you're an employee there. All right, so that's essentially what he's talking about. Now, let's go back. Now that we've seen all of that, friends, now that you have all the background, and this, again, is what I teach. Because when I start, if I would have just went to Matthew 24 and just read to you, just read it, and gave you some points about Matthew, and really just told you everything that I showed you, right? Everything that I showed you, I just tell it. I don't go to the other scriptures. I don't let the scriptures define anything for you. I just tell it to you. I don't go to the board and give you illustrations